And then there were 28. We know who is left in training camp for the Nashville Predators. On today's show, we'll break down the pros and cons of the roster battles ahead.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this Wednesday shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders community and, of course, our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio. And friends, I have a Thelma to my Louise.
Staying consistent today. I like it. I am Emma Lingan, and I'm an NHL reporter and host for the Hockey News.
Well, the Nashville Predators roster is down to 28 players. We have 16 forwards, 10 defensemen, and 2 goaltenders as God intended it at training camp. What we thought was going to be a very straightforward roster construction for Andrew Brunette this season has gotten a little bit more interesting between injuries, holdouts, and a few outstanding preseason performances. Today, Emma and I are going to talk about a couple of the young players who have made a very serious argument for a shot at the opening night roster. We're going to tell you what may be weighing heaviest with Andrew Brunette as he makes these decisions. And friends, it is Western Conference Wednesday, and today we're going to talk about the hottest story in the Western Conference, maybe one of the hottest stories in the NHL, and that is the fat payday for one Minnesota Wild player, not Luke Evangelista. As the time of this recording, Luke Evangelista still holding out from the Nashville Predators. Before we dive into all of that, do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Emma, I'm sticking with Thelma and Louise. This is my form of civil disobedience until this gets done between Barry Trotz and Luke Evangelista's agent. I'm like, okay, you guys want to dig your heels in? Well, Thelma and Louise, we are. And I think it's I'm a little bit of a donkey on the edge about all of this. Like, I was a theater major, but enough with the drama. So I don't know.
Yeah,
sticking with it.
I will say, I think that you've improved from where we were with this about a week ago. I feel like you've got better control of the situation now. But yeah, none of us are happy with how this is going. Yeah. I mean, again, as we said yesterday, no one comes out of this looking good. So
yeah. Part of it, too, is I've gained a whole new perspective on the world. About 6:58 this morning, one of the most traumatic things in my life happened to me. So, You know what? Perspective check. When your dog decides today's the day that he's going to try deer poop for breakfast, and you find yourself dry heaving and saying words not like flag nog in the side yard while the neighbor walks by, you're not the same person. So friends, I'm not the same person today that I was an hour ago. So
and I wouldn't be either. I mean, that is so traumatic. Like, I'm a little traumatized just hearing the story. And I
Poor Emma got it in detail when she clicked on this morning. I'm like, Emma, oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure this is so bad. I don't know if I'm okay. Yeah. But anyway, we've scrubbed all the things and antibacterial but I'm still not okay. So if you hear a little dry heaving in the background, that's either I'm still really annoyed about the Luke Evangelista contract, or what was my dog Nash Vegas doing this morning? It's probably the dog, y'all. But you didn't come here for that. I didn't wake up this morning for that. So let's just turn the page as quickly as we can. Nashville Predators, of course, reducing the roster. 5 of the players that were placed on waivers cleared waivers. They are in camp in Milwaukee, which training camp kicked off yesterday for the Admirals as well. Matt Murray, Jordan Osterley, Kevin Gravel, Jake Lucchini, and Navrin Mutter. Those were the 5 that were still on the roster that cleared. This is such an interesting remaining roster, Emma. Here is the player I did not expect to still be on the roster at this point. And maybe I was naive. Brady Martin. I thought Brady Martin would, would have come. And that's not a statement on how I felt like his performance and his skill set is. I just am like, okay, they're not joking about taking a look at Brady Martin. I don't think they're joking.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm that surprised about it, honestly. Again, I don't think that this is any more of a sign that he makes the opening night roster, but I did expect, I mean, considering this is the highest draft pick that they've had in years, that
Mhm.
they're gonna take a long look at him. And he's gonna be a future piece, like a future central piece of this team.
Yeah.
So I I'm not surprised they're taking a longer look at him. I still would not give him an NHL trial this year. I don't think
Mhm.
that helps anyone, quite frankly, but I'm not surprised they're giving him a little bit of a longer look at camp.
Yeah. I knew that they would want to keep him around a while, but I'm surprised. I personally am a little bit surprised how serious I think they are about weighing this with him. Um, but I think he's done a really good job. I don't know that this weekend's preseason game in Tampa Bay necessarily was his best performance that we've seen this preseason, but I will say consistently in training camp, this is somebody who has looked really good. I mean, and that started at rookie camp. So this is somebody who, you and I have had a, basically most days look at, and he has been very consistently good. I do like what you're saying about, I don't know how serious they're taking giving him a start. And you hear a lot from people about just give him 9 games. Just give him the 9 games and then send him back to juniors. And I understand why. I think for one thing, PR wise right now, the shiny new toy would be a really great distraction from the deer poop. But I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know that giving him 9 games and then pulling him out of the lineup is the avenue long term you want to go down for this team. And yet you hear a lot of people say, what's it hurt? So Emma, lay out for us. And you will be speaking for both of us because I agree. Love this kid, love watching him play. I just don't know that you give him a 9-day start. So why explain to people why maybe that 9 games is not overall going to be the most helpful thing?
Well, I think I've said before that it honestly has less to do with Brady Martin and more to
Mhm.
do with the rest of the team. And we want to get this team off to a strong start. We've talked about how important that is. We've talked about how important chemistry is. So maybe if you're trying to build chemistry, let's not throw in a wild card at the beginning of the year for 9 games and then take him away. It
Right.
just again, it seems like not really where this team is at right now. If they were fully committed to doing the rebuild thing right now, I would say sure. But I think it's very clear that they're not. I mean, again, we talked about it yesterday with the whole Luke Evangelista situation and how this, Barry Trotz is still trying to prove that last year was a fluke and that this year is going to be different and they're going to be competitive. And I think putting your first round pick in the NHL for 9 games or however many games when you're not quite sure if he's ready yet at the beginning
Mhm.
of the season, then I don't think that screams we're going to be competitive this year. It screams
Yeah.
we don't really know what we're doing
Yes.
and we don't know what we have. But we're just trying to figure it out as we go. And
Yeah.
so that's why it just seems very unlikely to me with every other thing the organization has done, the way that they're going, the way that they're trying so hard to prove that this year is going to be different. It just seems to me it would be very antithetical to put Brady Martin on the NHL roster, even just for a couple games to start the season.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not so much about Brady Martin. It is about where this franchise is at. We learned very little last year. You have got to figure out what you have. Pulling somebody out of the roster after 9 games and changing up your lines, I don't think that's going to help you learn anything. The other thing that I will say about this, and I think that people need to understand this, and there's so many complicated ins and outs of the rules of things in hockey. But the options for Brady Martin are play in juniors or be on the NHL roster for 82 games, because Brady Martin cannot play in the AHL. In an ideal world, you can say, well, dang, dude, you are good enough. Why don't we put you in Milwaukee, get you some AHL time, and then we're going to call you up this season? That is not an option based on Brady Martin's age. So his options are juniors or the NHL. So that's kind of part of the factor too. And look, friends, here's what's real. Brady Martin is not the only young player who is making a case for time on that opening night roster. Coming up, we're going to talk about a couple other forwards who are giving Andrew Brunette some serious things to think about. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it is 401ks, properties, or their investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It is an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you have put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes and then see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use our code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That is 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, Emma, Brady Martin has really been a delight to watch through this preseason, but there are several other young forwards who Andrew Brunette is going to have to seriously consider as he constructs the roster for next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. Y'all, it is October. We are in the month of hockey. Hallelujah. We are in the month of hockey. So the other players who are still on the roster that I think are going to gain some serious consideration, and I kind of want to pair them up as we talk about them. We talked about Brady Martin, but let's talk about Joakim Kemell and Matthew Wood. And here is what I will say about Joakim Kemell. He was sort of the heir apparent in the offseason. He was the guy that people are like, oh, it's been a while. He's been around. It's time. But I think he has done a very good job of coming into camp and showing with his play. No, seriously, it's not just because I'm the guy that you've been talking about and it's my turn. I think Joakim Kemell has done a good job of coming in and saying, hey, here's my skill set. The thing that I think Joakim Kemell has really going for him is that one of the things we know, and we don't know a lot about last year's team, but one thing we know for sure is they got to score some freaking goals, you all. Joakim Kemell is a goal scorer. He is a goal scorer. Now, scoring goals at the NHL level is different than scoring goals at the AHL level. But I think that he really wants the opportunity to show that he can do that. And really, Emma, the only way to learn how to score goals in the NHL is to score goals in the NHL. So it might really just be time to put him in there.
Yeah, that's one I could really see going either way, honestly. Again, I keep coming back to not to be the Debbie Downer constantly, but I keep coming back to who are you gonna put him with? If you put him in the NHL, who are you gonna play him with? And
Right.
so that's where I kind of struggle with it, because it's like, okay, put him in the NHL. I don't really have a huge problem with that. But then if you're gonna put him, I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but
Mhm.
if you put him on the fourth line with Michael McCarron and Cole Smith, then at that point, I don't really see how that benefits his development at all. I think that that's
Right.
where it's more beneficial. Have him in Milwaukee playing top 6 minutes regularly and building his confidence there. So I just, I don't know. And again, it has less to do with him and more to do with this roster not really being built to accommodate him in a way that's going to actually foster his growth and development at the NHL level.
Yeah. And you're right. You want a goal scorer in this roster, but you have to put him in a position to score goals. And again, no critique of McCarron and Smith, but that's not that role. So if you're going to put Joakim Kemell in there, you need to give him top 6, middle 6 minutes for sure, with players who can help him get the puck in the net. I do think it's very interesting how much we have seen Kemell on the penalty kill in the preseason. And I wonder, that was something that really caught me off guard, but he has very consistently been on the kill. And I think that that is one of the things that they're looking at with him as well, is you gotta play defense. I mean, last year notwithstanding, mostly you need your forwards to play defense too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, don't look at last year's team as an example of that, but
Yes.
yes, you need to be defensively responsible with the puck. And
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of the biggest thing, especially for a player like Kemell, who is an offense first player. Like he's
Yes.
the sort of shoot first, think later kind of guy. And I'm not saying that that in itself is a bad thing, but you need to be able, with how fast this game is, like you need to be able to take care of the puck when you're not in a position to be scoring goals. And
Mhm.
so I think that putting him on the penalty kill is a really good way to test his defensive responsibility, because I think at this point, we've talked about the offense. It's like we know the offense is there.
Right.
Um, it's the getting him to be a more, a well-rounded two-way player that might be where he's lagging. And I can't really say that I've been like, "Oh yeah, he's horrible defensively." But I mean, clearly the organization thinks that that's something that he needs to work on, because he has been spending so much time on the penalty
Yeah.
kill.
Yeah.
So
And like you said, the organization needs to see that side before you jump in. We got a chance to talk to Joakim Kemell at training camp, and he talked about the things that he feels like he brings to this organization. He also talked about the things that he is working on. This is what he had to say last week at training camp.
I mean, well, obviously my strengths, like shooting, skating, like how do I make like plays to score, like find the free ice on the ozone and stuff like that. A few years in Milwaukee, like I learned a lot. I learned the game here. I learned like you don't have time and space that much. What do you think? I think the main thing here is just trying to find the lane and shoot quick, because you don't have a time. You just need to avoid those sticks and legs and trying to shoot past them. I think for me it's just little things like get your skates going, like get your legs going, and like just passes and shooting. Like when you get the time or chance to score, you really gotta do it. Like you don't get them a lot in NHL, so when you get the chance, you gotta score.
That's what makes me come back to, I almost want to see him in the NHL, because you only learn the speed of the game in the NHL. You only learn to identify the minuscule lanes and in split seconds in time where you have to score by playing at this level. And I'm like, if he goes back to the AHL, is he going to get a sense of that? But like you said, the flip side is he going to get a sense of that if he's playing fourth line minutes in the NHL? So there's a lot to weigh in when it comes to putting Kemell in the lineup. For me, when I think about players competing for a role, I tend to, in my mind, match up Kemell with Matthew Wood. And as of the time of this recording, what we know about Matthew Wood is he is listed as day to day. There is no disclosure on upper body, lower body injury. We are headed to practice after this. So, we'll keep you updated on whether he is out on the ice and if there's any other update as far as how he is doing. I have been blown away by Matthew Wood. If I had to name one player in training camp that I was like, damn, Matthew Wood is my damn. And we got a glimpse of him last season, but what he has brought to training camp and the consistency with which he has brought it has been so impressive.
Yeah, he's been a huge surprise of the pleasant variety for me. Not that I thought that he was going to be like he was going to struggle or anything. I mean, he
No.
came into the NHL last year for that brief period and he was fine. Like
Mhm.
I thought he got a little bit better each game, like didn't really knock my socks off either way, like negatively or positively. It's like, all right, well, let's see what happens here. And I mean, he really has come in like a man on a mission. Like he
Yes.
wants this. He really wants this. And I think so far he's earned it. I really do.
Yeah.
And so it's making things a little interesting in that middle six group, I think.
Yeah. So hard to see him go down in the Gold Star Showcase and not return to the ice and kind of be left in this land of, is he still going to be somebody who's available a week from tomorrow for opening night? Because Matthew Wood has just, like you said, he has come in a man on a mission, and you see him playing in the preseason with somebody like a Philip Forsberg, not looking like he is trailing behind Philip Forsberg in this. And this is somebody who, when you look at it on paper, you would on paper say, well, of course, Joakim Kemell should get a place on the roster before Matthew Wood. Matthew Wood hasn't even logged any AHL minutes. Friends, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I would love, and this is maybe more of a me thing than it is an Andrew Brunette thing. I just would love to see him a little bit stronger physically for the NHL consistently. Do you think he's ready for an 82 game season, Emma?
I don't know. I don't know. And like I really is anyone that's kind of when I come back to
Mhm.
like, is
True.
anyone really ready for that? Like, do you know? There's no way to know
Yeah.
unless you do it. And
Mhm.
so again, I don't know that I would necessarily be angry if they start him in the AHL this year. Like get him some more like top 6 minutes there, get him a little bit more, kind of ease him into the schedule because, going straight from college to the NHL, that's quite a jump. So maybe ease him in the AHL. I wouldn't be mad about it. But like I
Yeah.
said, I really don't think there's any way to know until you try.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens down the stretch of the preseason this week and this game this weekend. It's going to be very, very important for Andrew Brunette to get eyes on these guys. Coming up, the forward battles are not just about skill and shooting. Nashville is also looking for that big, strong two-way forward. One of the interesting battles, perhaps, for that spot comes down to Ozzy Wiesblatt and Reed Schaefer. We'll tell you what we think of those two players coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is finally here, friends, and FanDuel has an offer you absolutely don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get 300 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down $5, and if it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You're going to love how FanDuel gives you so many different ways to play. You can build parlays, try those player props, and follow the live lines during games. It's going to make watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you are a casual fan or you love diving into all of the advanced stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Emma, two players that you think of, maybe bottom six guys strictly for role and skill set: Reed Schaefer, Ozzy Wiesblatt. We've had a little bit more limited view of Ozzy Wiesblatt because he stepped away from camp for personal reasons. Reed Schaefer has been there. Reed Schaefer is so interesting to me because it's just almost is frustrating to me, and I was not even remotely involved in this. But Reed Schaefer kicked off last season like a player possessed. In 19 games, he had 8 goals, 14 points, which was more than his entire season total the year before. He was a player on the cusp of, I am ready to take that next giant step. And then injury happened and he missed the rest of the season. So you want to see him pick up where he left off, and you want to see him pick up and come into this season wherever he plays, ready to continue making that giant step forward. I think what works well for Reed Schaefer, what kind of plays into his favor as they are continuing to evaluate him in training camp, is he is that player who has shown that I am on the cusp of taking the next step. Also, Barry Trotz loves Reed Schaefer. Reed Schaefer is a delightful kid. Barry Trotz, this is a player Barry Trotz very specifically, and I'm talking by name, has talked about a lot when it comes to this season, the future of this organization. And I think Schaefer has looked really good. I think he's had a good camp. He looks healthy. I always wonder what the mental component of coming back from such a significant and long injury and recovery is. But Schaefer, I think, has looked very good. When you compare he and Ozzy Wiesblatt, is there anything that really makes you think this is the player that I think Andrew Brunette is going to lean more towards when it comes to opening night roster?
At this point, I don't know. Like, I really don't, because I mean, the one thing that I think Ozzy has going for him is that he's spent time in the NHL, albeit very brief time, but more than Schaefer has. Schaefer also has, had more time at training camp. Now that, of course, is not Ozzy's fault by any means, but
Right.
he missed some time, so that could factor into the decision. Schaefer's got a little bit more size on him. And I don't know. I feel like Ozzy is more of a pest. Like, he can
Yes,
also,
he
he's a bit of
is.
a Kiefer Sherwood type. Like, he's a pest
Yes.
and he's annoying, but he can also score.
Mhm.
Schaefer is a little bit more of the big, kind of bottom six bruiser. And
Mhm.
I don't mean to say that one is better than the other. Like, Schaefer will knock guys off of pucks. And I think that is maybe what Barry Trotz likes about him. I think that's what Andrew Brunette probably likes about him. But I agree with you. Schaefer, I mean, he was part of the trade, the Matthias Ekholm trade with Edmonton. And so that was kind of, I mean, Barry Trotz hadn't officially taken over yet as GM,
Mhm.
but it was right after he announced like he's coming in. So this is kind of one of
Yes.
those things where it's like, all right, he's calling the shots behind the
Mhm.
scenes. So this was like one of his first major acquisitions unofficially, but it was one of his first moves with the organization. So I do think, and I'm just saying, it's been a bit of a pattern that we've seen with Barry Trotz, that he really likes his
Yes.
guys that he's brought into the organization. Makes you wonder, if Luke Evangelista had not been drafted by David Poyle, would we still be dealing with all this right now? Food for thought. But point
Mhm.
is, he likes his guys. He is very high on Schaefer. I just get, because of the injury history, because he
Yeah.
missed so much time last year, that is what gives me pause. And I'm not saying definitely no, he can't make the opening night roster because of that, but I'm saying, like, for me, at that stage in a young player's development, it does give me pause a little bit
Yeah.
that, you'd want to make sure that he's fully kind of up to speed. I still
Yes.
think we see him in the NHL this year at some
100%.
point.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
will play
for
in the
sure.
NHL this year, but
Mhm.
does he play on the opening night roster? I don't know. I
Yeah.
genuinely don't know.
Yeah. I don't know that Andrew Brunette knows. And that is what I think is so interesting about this training camp. The players that they have retained in camp, and we're talking about Martin, Kemell, we're talking about Matthew Wood, we're talking about Ozzy Wiesblatt, we're talking about Reed Schaefer. They're not here just for poops and Snickers. There is not one of those players that is not getting serious consideration from Andrew Brunette and perhaps also Barry Trotz as well. And I don't think Andrew Brunette has in his mind, I know which of these guys I want playing opening night. I don't think he's there, which makes this training camp really, really interesting. I will say this between Reed Schaefer and Ozzy Wiesblatt. I like them both. I love Ozzy has that, and I don't know what else to call it. I call it protective instinct. It's the Michael McCarron in you. It's the Kiefer Sherwood in you. But he also, I am telling you, this kid can score. And so I like that combination of that. And I am with you. Will Reed Schaefer feel more confident with 15 AHL games under his belt, knowing, look, I am fully recovered? Food for thought. And of course, we'll keep you posted on what we see and hear from Andrew Brunette as camp continues, as these young players continue to make their case. It is Western Conference Wednesday, where we like to take a story from the Western Conference and chew on it. And friends, did life give us a Western Conference Wednesday story this week or what? And we're not talking about Luke Evangelistas not getting the deal. We're talking about the player in the West who got the deal. Kirill Kaprizov is taking everybody out for dinner. 8 years, $136 million, $17 million AAV. I think it's interesting that the original offer was 16 million. And he was like, no, thank you. I was like, okay, I want to know what those conversations were to go from to, okay, sure, 8 years. Yesterday, if you felt kind of a warm breeze coming from the north, that was the collective sigh of every Wild fan. So relieved that Kaprizov was not leaving Minnesota. Emma, when you heard about that deal, what was your initial reaction to it?
I mean, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. I think that after all of the brouhaha that had come around it, there was the whole, the information got leaked that he was offered 16 million, turned it down. The Wild, it didn't make them look good. So they're like, well, because you think, well, if a player's not going to take $16 million to stay here, then he must really not want to be there. And that reflects badly on the organization. So of course they didn't really have a choice after that, but to offer him more. So I think you knew this contract was going to be massive. I mean, with the cap going up and everything that you had heard, do I think he should be making that much more than a Leon Draisaitl? No. But that's the price of doing business. What I am now excited about, because we've been talking about this for a while, this was the entire league. This is going to be an interesting free agent class coming up. And
Yes.
so the entire league, it seems, has kind of been playing this giant game of chicken. Like everyone is waiting to see who signs first, who's going to set the market. And then we go from there to determine what the rest of us get. If Kirill Kaprizov, a winger, and wingers typically not as valuable as centers, gets that kind of deal, what does that mean for Connor McDavid? What does it mean for Jack Eichel? I mean, this is what I am just sitting back. I'm fascinated. I am relieved that the Predators aren't trying to retain any of these players that we're talking about, because goodness, I mean, you knew it was coming, but it's a little ridiculous. Like, just the amount. It's
the
crazy.
number. I am with you. I see this for Kaprizov, and I get it. I get it. You want him there. There's a reason Minnesota wants to keep him. I get that. But then you look at Connor McDavid, and I'm like, exponentially, at some point, he becomes unaffordable. when you are Connor McDavid. Here's the thing that is different, though. Connor McDavid, and this is going to sound critical of Kaprizov, and I don't mean it this way. Connor McDavid does not need a number attached to his name or written on a check for people to acknowledge that he is perhaps one of the greatest, if not like top 2, 3 greatest players that have ever played this sport. And
But
I
you
think
know what
McDavid,
he does? You know what he does need
he
is
needs
the
a
Stanley Cup.
he
He needs a
really
cup.
does. You all give them. I mean, he does need a cup,
And
but I think he would take less in the number personally to get the guys around him that would get him that cup, because Connor McDavid knows his value. There is not a person who knows hockey that doesn't know Connor McDavid's value. And I wonder if he won't say, look, spend a little of my cash getting some other people in here to get me the freaking cup. Give him the cup.
he might say that, but his agent sure won't. I don't
That's a
see
fair
that
point.
happening.
That's a fair point.
I don't see that happening personally, but I do think if you look at, now granted it's different now with the salary cap going up, but if you look at like the Toronto Maple Leafs as a cautionary tale of what happens when you sink half your salary cap
Mhm.
into 4 guys, like you know, you don't have a good team around you. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to it, but
It's a shocking number. 17 million is a shocking number. But I think you're right. Probably 5 years from now, it won't feel as shocking. And we'll be like, do you remember back when we paid Ryan Johansson 8 million? Chump change.
Yep. Oh.
Those were the days.
And listen, it's not an indictment of Kaprizov at all. If someone
No.
offers you $17 million, you take $17 million.
Oh, yeah.
Like, get your bag, buddy. Like,
Yes.
totally. But it is going to be interesting now to see the domino effect around the rest of the league and how this plays out for other pending free agents.
Yeah. I also think this puts a lot of pressure on the Minnesota Wild collectively. Because if you are paying your guy $17 million a year, you all need to get yourself a championship. You all need to get yourself real close to a championship. If you have said, this is the guy for $17 million, he's not the guy who's going to be really good and fun to watch. He's going to be the guy that gets you to the cup. So pressure's on. Pressure's on in Minnesota. It'll be really interesting to see how this unfolds for the Wild, who I think they're going to be very competitive in the Central. That sounds dreamy, doesn't it? Competitive in the Central.
What's that like?
What's that like? I don't know. It's been 84 years and some deer poop since we have felt competitive in the Central. But we'll see what happens with the Nashville Predators. Like we said, headed down to practice today. We'll keep you updated. Check out our social media page for updates, LO_Predators as well. We'll let you know what we're hearing and what we are seeing as the Predators get ready for next week. Next week, you all. Hockey, official hockey that counts. I don't know if that makes you happy or terrifies you as a Nashville Predators fan, but it is right around the corner. Emma, before we log off on this Wednesday, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
Yes, you can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News, and you can also find me ordering shipments of antibacterial soap to Anne's house as she continues to recover from the trauma of this morning.
My hands have been washed like a surgeon's. These suckers burn from all of this. I'm not the same person, but I'm doing the best I can. You can find me dry heaving in the toilet, thinking about what happened this morning. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio. You can listen to Penalty Box Radio tonight on 102.5 The Game from 8 to 9 p.m. as we kick off our season radio show. You can find me on social media at @AnnK_Mama on Ice. Friends, that is going to do it for this Wednesday episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks again so much for making us your first listen of the day. We hope you guys have a fabulous Wednesday. We will be back here tomorrow with an all new episode. We'll see you then.